Let's play.
Shout out to our wonderful sponsors. Thank you so much for CR Tech Services LLC, as well as Amici Builders LLC. We appreciate you all greatly. Let's get into the show today. Rufus, it is a Sunday. I'm happy to see you. It's time to play. Anyway,
This
it's
is
been a
new.
hell of a week. It's
It's
been a
been a
hell of
week.
a week.
Good
Welcome
morning,
to
by the way.
That's right. That's right. Good morning to you. Shout out to Way. Welcome everyone to another episode of Rufus and Craig Show. And Rufus, I did this last week and probably the week before that. What the fuck is going on with this weather?
Yeah, the weather is weathering because it's weather time.
It's
Summertime weather gets crazy
gross.
sometimes. It's not always rainbows and sunshine. Sometimes it rains. Summertime storms kind of come out of nowhere, and that's just part of life.
I see here in Philadelphia in particular, there's like microbursts of storms yesterday. So we had like down power lines, the streets are flooded, cars are floating down the street, trees have fallen on top of cars, people have lost electricity, and our mayor, well, the mayor, Sherelle
You can say, "Oh,
Parker,
you live there."
she held a press conference last night, pretty much to like update people and folks are going in telling some, yeah, you spent those millions. I think it was like either 14 or 50, or was it $20 million, whatever, on that 4th of July celebration. Why can't you prioritize this? Like, these storms are no jokes. I see New Orleans is up underwater. New
Hmm.
Jersey has been up underwater again. After kind of recovering from that week, prior of being underwater. So it's just a lot going on, Rufus. So we'll just send them white light and joy. So,
Well,
yeah.
let's be grateful that your power and utilities are still on, and you're in a well kept building.
Yes, you're right.
Hmm.
Well, it's not a building; it's a place. Remember,
Ah.
that's what sucked me in 3 years ago, and really 3 years today. If you think,
Oh
yeah, I've been here
God. And
3 years.
your background is blurry, which I guess is cool.
Yeah, I was multitasking off of this MacBook Pro instead of the other device I use. So yeah, well, let's
Mm.
jump into our first story. We're gonna, you know, just ease on into it, and we definitely want to say rest in peace to
Ease
Nolan
on
Wells.
down. Ease on down. Rest in peace, Nolan.
Yeah, we know that's a difficult story to begin
Very
today's
difficult.
show with. And so we're sending condolences to his family and loved ones. And we recognize that the situation, of course, is extremely sensitive. And shout out to Tyler Perry. I know we kind of discussed him on the
And
show.
Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, they stepped up to support the family during this difficult time. And Rufus, you know, moments like this, they kind of remind us, that it's important for people with influence to really show compassion.
Yes, I think it's important for all of us to show compassion and empathy, no matter if you're influenced or not. It's
Yeah,
just the human reality of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you think about it, behind every headline is a grieving family sometimes, these types of headlines. And hopefully
Hmm.
the family continues receiving support. And that just kind of takes me to before we got on here, I saw this, there was a snippet where Angela Rye kind of stood in defense of Andrew Gilliam, who unfortunately
Oh,
has,
okay. He
had
had
a,
some scandals, a big scandal, the more
yeah,
recent scandal that happened early
I
this
think it was
week.
July 2nd. It was right before Essence, but the clip that the Jasmine brand had posted was, oh, this is painful. You all have to realize, when you go on social media and these blogs write these posts up, that it's not Andrew. He's not looking at any of this, however, but his wife and children are. And so,
Hmm.
we talked about family as it relates to even Nolan Wells, seeing certain things on headlines, but just being kind of sensitive to that. But again, best wishes to Nolan Wells' family, as well as, since I've kind of spoken about Andrew Gilliam, best wishes to him in that particular situation as well.
Agreed. And this is why empathy is important because you never know what somebody's going through.
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
he has some kind of issues going on in his life. So, well wishes to him
yeah,
and his family.
yeah, absolutely. And it makes me think back to, it was like 2022 when Chris Brown had an incident or something and everybody went in on Kelly Rowland because
Child, which
TMZ,
one?
well, I forgot which
Chris
one it
Brown had
was.
shitload of issues,
Yeah,
incidents. I'm sorry.
it was something happened. Whatever happened in 2022, but I remember Kelly Rowland saying, everybody deserves grace, you
Absolutely.
know. Um and a lot of vloggers, bloggers bashed her about that by even having compassion even for him. And I just
Hmm.
sit and think, I'm like, well, we all have fucked up ass relatives, and some of us ourselves are fucked
Or
up. So,
exactly, because we're all human.
how dare us sit there,
And
in
judge.
judgment, yeah, of another
Hmm.
person. So, whoo. And speaking of that, let's just go on and slide into this next story. And I think this might be the
Slide to the
only,
left.
yeah, sports piece that we would
Oh,
have here. One thing that dominated the headlines, Rufus, that you heard me. I wasn't laughing, but it was like, wow, um, the Marcellus Wiley and Anne Marie story. You never watched Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but I know she had a
oh,
stint on there. I think maybe Garcelle's second season, so this could have been 2021. Because I feel like Garcelle
okay.
came on during COVID or something, somewhere around that time. But the former NFL player and sports commentator, has pretty much he's got multiple felony and sexual assault charges, that he's currently
Oh,
facing. Now he's pleaded not guilty and denies the allegations, but his wife Anne Marie continues. She had publicly supported him, but it wasn't until recent that shit came down on her. And somehow I think TMZ reported that he held something like to her jaw, like the poker. We don't know if it was a knife, whatever the situation was, but when you think about these spouses and how she defended him before, I think he had some rape allegations at some point. It could have been from
against her?
college, not against her, but it
Oh,
was against him.
okay.
And she defended him then going into that show, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or whatnot. But I'm not married, you're not married. But where do you think the line is drawn as it relates to supporting your spouse publicly? And this is kind of even piggybacking off of thinking about Andrew Gillum and Jay, his wife, who was at Essence Fest, still supporting him in light of what hadn't come to the public's eye of him being arrested in Alabama.
Well, I'll say this: I'm not like you just said. I'm not married, so I think it's a personal choice. Whatever you decide to do in your marriage, you and your spouse, if y'all talk about it, agree on it, then the line is wherever y'all need it to be at. I don't have any
Yeah.
input on that. So it's a personal choice. If you decide to support your husband who's abusive, or your wife who's abusive,
Mm.
or your spouse who was abusive, then that's your choice. And I don't have a dog in that fight.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the public's opinion still, of course, is going to remain divided. And of course, with anything in all of these stories, well, these two and three at this particular point, you just want to let the legal process play out. And we know it does take time as it relates to certain things. So, all the best to everybody who deserves it, as Kelly Rowland was saying.
Had a day you deserve.
And we'll follow up on those pieces. So that touches. Oh my God, we did what? That's Mississippi. Um, we done Florida. Now let's go on and pivot our ass on up to New York.
I'm
Woo! If
from
you never thought
New
about air travel,
York.
I've never. You're a world traveler. I'm playing catch up with you.
And so
Well,
are you.
you know, I'm playing catch up, but I've been
And
on
so are
small
you.
planes, but never a seaplane.
You've been on large planes too.
Yeah, yeah. I said I've never been on this. Well, yeah,
I know, but you
but I'm
said you've been on
thinking
small planes. I'm agreeing you've been on large planes too because you went to South Africa, which requires a wide body, which is a large plane.
we got a number one show in South Africa. Anyway, thank you
And
for
you've
that.
also been to Spain
I
and
sure
Colombia
have. Shout out to Amici.
and Colombia.
And Cal. Yeah. So this seaplane took an emergency landing in New York City in the East River.
Okay.
And, we definitely want to shout out the pilot for doing that safely. And everyone on board, they did survive, right? And the emergency crews were able to respond. Now, Rufus, you know, this could have ended much differently. Have you ever had an emergency landing situation? I know they say do this, put your
Mm,
head down.
I have not, and I hope I never do, but I have had a situation, well, two situations I can talk about. I was landing in Barcelona, Spain years ago, and the plane got struck by lightning two times. That was
Ooh,
that was interesting.
okay.
But they just kept right on flying. But planes are designed to take lightning strikes.
That's
Another
right.
thing that happened is this happened to me twice as well. One time, I don't remember where I was landing at, but they had to do a go around. I don't remember why. And then a few years ago, we were landing in Egypt in Cairo, and the plane did a go around as well.
Mm,
But that doesn't mean that there was something wrong. Well, maybe it does.
mm.
Maybe not necessarily, but that happened. I've never had an emergency landing, and I hope and well, I don't pray, but I hope and hope and hope that it never happens because I don't want to experience that.
Right, right. No fun in there for sure. My goodness.
Have you experienced an emergency landing?
It wasn't an emergency landing. It was an actual go around, and it was in ATL. Don't know where the hell I was going, but at some point in my life, I think well everything when you live in the South for the most part, depending on which city you connect in Atlanta, and so I just remember we were descending, And then all of a sudden, it was a nighttime flight too. So, at that point, you can't see anything. We
Hmm.
zip right back up, right?
Yep.
And the
Yep.
pilot comes all jovial, but yet disgruntled over the system and says, "Wow, yeah, air traffic control cleared us to land, but there was already a plane on the runway,
Oh
so
yeah,
we
that's a
had to go
major.
back up.
Yeah.
Just imagine, we just wasted $500,000 of fuel." That's
Yeah.
the part where I got pissed off because you talking
I don't
about
care about the fuel.
fuel, motherfucker. You
Yeah.
almost killed us. Well, you saved
Well,
us, but you almost, it was just you
it
talking
wasn't
about fuel
his
as if it
fault.
comes out of your check.
Yeah. Do you
That was
remember coming back
weird.
from Mexico that one time
Oh,
when we had to divert?
you're right. Had a diversion. Were we in Mexico City or
We were
Arizona? Where were
no,
we?
we diverted to Monterrey, Mexico, which is in northern Mexico, because we were coming from Cancun, and I guess it was storms here in
Yeah,
Dallas, and they said, "Oh, the storms are too bad, we can't land, so we got to go back to
yeah.
Mexico." And I'll never forget you talking about Whitney Houston was on that plane because Whitney Houston had just died. This is what 2009 or 10 maybe.
This is funny.
Goes to show how long I've been knowing you, which is a long motherfucking time. But yeah, that was funny. Well, it wasn't funny, but
It
you were
was
funny
some
talking about Whitney
weird
Houston was on
shit.
the plane.
You shouldn't
It
tell
wasn't
people
weird.
that
It was just it
story.
wasn't it. I mean, I tell the truth.
I have a very is
Vivid
it
imagine
is what people
correct.
may say.
Yes,
Um,
you have the imagination of a 5-year-old.
Wait a minute. I don't think you
It's
should
not
say that.
it's not an insult. It's just your imagination is just it's just wow.
Yeah,
WILD.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I understand. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. But that was my story. That was yours. Whitney
hmm
Houston wasn't on the plane, you all. She was
she
not
wasn't.
there.
She wasn't.
Um, well, federal investigators, of course, are going to determine what caused that emergency. So, and while we're in New York, what has dominated? I woke up with this. This was Saturday. It was Friday night or either early Saturday morning. Um, Jay Z and Beyonce. This is our economy section to
What
you
about the
all.
power couple
They
that
back
everybody
working,
loves
so
or loves to hate?
they're in New York. So I woke up Saturday morning, and I
I thought they
think
was in
either it was
London.
on Instagram or either it was on Twitter, and I just see Beyonce singing the Mary J. Blige's part two. I can't even remember the song. Um, but yeah, Jay Z is performing 3 nights at Yankee Stadium. He's doing a residency there. I was, read that it was sold out, and this is celebrating his 30th anniversary of his Reasonable Doubt album.
Reasonable Doubt, which is a great
Yeah,
album.
yeah. That's the one that's on vinyl with Target. And he's also celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Blueprint. Now, I remember the Blueprint.
Also a good
Um,
album.
yeah, I remember the Blueprint. And so Beyonce surprised fans by joining him on stage. And so while it was a Jay Z concert, man, everybody saw Beyonce. She was the headliner, and somehow I guess she's an it's not a hairstylist now because she cut his hair in the
Well, her,
stadium. Yeah, she
her
cut his
mother
hair.
probably taught her that skill.
I guess so. We see
But was there
Beyonce.
ever any doubt that she was gonna come out? I mean, like, duh. Of course she was gonna be there. Of course she was gonna do a little number. Of
Okay,
course she
that's
was. It's
her husband, and I
Beyonce.
think she told him, shout out to my husband, you all. Shout out to my
She
husband.
did and gave him a kiss on the lips.
Yeah, yeah, she did. And so, we think about these concerts and tourism and restaurants, you think about the economic impact, but they're back working. And it's interesting now because we've heard of potential money woes, specifically with Jay Z and New York City wanting to open up their casino. But I think Nas is the one that got approved for the bid. But they were saying how Jay Z, he mortgaged or took out $50 million against their LA home.
Hmm.
So it's a lot. We think about money, we hear that they don't even live in the United States anymore, that they're over in London. And so it's just a lot with them. And I think even Blue Ivy was on stage too. So everybody's
She was
working. The
playing the
whole
piano.
family. Yeah. The
She was
whole
playing a little
family is
piano.
working. The whole family.
Hmm.
And speaking of Beyonce, I don't know if you saw this, but this shit just took me out. A Ugandan general wants Beyonce.
I heard about this. This shit is crazy as fuck. He said, I think he said something saying, give me Beyonce or something like that. Some shit,
He
some wild ass
wants
shit.
social media just couldn't believe this one. But his name is Mahuzi Katangaba. And he publicly said, excuse me, to Jay Z, give him Beyonce. And so those comments just quickly went viral. And
I
so a
want to see
lot of
what they
people are
said.
joking and debating. And so only Jay Z and Beyonce can become an international conversation to a regard.
Hmm. They're the new Barack and Michelle.
I guess so,
Or
right?
maybe the old one. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they weren't at the dedication of the Obama Presidential Library in Chicago, but Kelly was there, and I
Um,
think the mother was there, Solange was there, everybody was there, and I shout out Erica said,
they was busy planning the concert. They
"You
had to get
right,
the logistics and shit in order.
I guess,
You just
well,
said they going back to work. They had to get their shit in order
yeah, they
because
got to
Miss
get their
Beyonce
money."
Miss Beyonce is a perfectionist, so it can't be nothing going wrong. It's got to
Even
be
for her
rehearsed six
segment.
times,
Yeah, yeah, even for her segment, man. So
especially for
it's
her segment.
yeah, even for her segment. So yeah, shout out to everybody that enjoyed themselves. Homegirl Danny, I saw her up there with a few of her friends, so she flew in for that, and so it looks like it was a good time. Looks like it was a good
Good.
time.
I'm
So
glad.
absolutely, and while we're on the nose, the Carter, well, Beyonce's nose Carter, but I don't know. You watch Outlaws by T.S. Madison? Is it the Outlaws podcast? You
I've
listen to
seen some
that? Well, you can watch it too.
I've seen some episodes, but I wouldn't say that I'm like a avid watcher. But I've seen about 3 or 4 episodes, and I watched it on YouTube. I typically I listen to podcasts, but I've watched that one.
Okay. Well, her dad, he did do a recent episode with
T.S.
Maddie.
Madison's dad.
No, Beyonce.
Oh,
Yeah, we
Matthew
keeping it
knows.
in the
Okay,
family today.
gotcha.
Yeah. So he sat down with Maddie on the Outlaws podcast, and pretty much he addressed where people were saying, "Hey, you're only wealthy because of Beyonce," and Matthew said, "Fuck that." He and Tina, his then wife, were already millionaires before Beyonce even became
I
famous.
believe it.
And excuse me,
I
he
believe
said
that.
multi-millionaires,
I
not
believe that.
the multi-millionaires. And he
Hmm.
said, they already had successful careers and businesses well before that. So Rufus, why do you think people assume successful parents only become successful because of their children?
Because we didn't know them before their kids were famous. We didn't know
Hmm.
Matthew Knowles before Beyonce and Destiny's Child. So
Right.
people just naturally assume that, oh, he worked at wherever he worked at him. And then people have a misconception that if you work a job that you're not making money. I'm sure I
Mm,
think he was an executive at some company, which
hmm
executives make
Was it
a
Xerox?
I don't remember. I know executives, some
Xerox.
executives make, especially if you're C-level executives, they make boatloads of money. So, but people just always assume shit, and they may or may not have the right facts or information to make a correct assumption. So that's why we shouldn't assume shit.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Matthew Knowles. Of course, he's trying to change the narrative, and he's pretty much laying out that entrepreneurship did exist in that household long before Destiny Child. So, shout out to
Hmm.
him. And speaking of ownership and money, Jermaine Dupri. I was like, did we talk about Jermaine Dupri?
No,
I,
we've never talked about that little midget.
yeah, Jermaine Dupri. He's suing Sony. So maybe we talked about that off
Oh
the
wow.
air.
I,
Yeah, you
I
and I
think
talked about that.
I've heard about yeah, I don't
Yeah.
yeah, I've heard
Well,
of it recently.
he's filed an $18 million lawsuit against Sony, and that lawsuit centers around royalties and ownership rights. So, another reminder that intellectual property, excuse me, is a big business. And so,
Yes,
Rufus,
it
we've
is.
talked about athletes protecting their money. Artists have to protect their catalogs too.
Absolutely. I feel like the music industry's fucked up because everybody is always suing somebody in the music industry over
Mm,
royalties or masters or
mm-hmm,
something. I'm like, what's
mm-hmm.
going on in the music industry? I feel like it's
Yeah.
a lot of shit going on over there. So I hope he gets his money from Sony because they got it to give. So give it to him.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and music catalogs, we know they increase in value. So I'm thinking Future sold his for a few tens of millions. He sold his, but I think Anita Baker bought hers back. Lil Wayne helped her with that to buy hers back. We
Mm.
know Taylor Swift, either she re-recorded or she couldn't buy hers back. I think Ariana Grande has gone through something
Mhm.
like that. But yeah, yeah, very interesting. So when you think about publishing rights, they remain one of the industry's biggest
Yeah,
assets. And I think
that's. I'm sorry. Writers and producers make more money than the artists typically until they start touring. So yeah, publishing is it's not as much as lucrative as it used to be in like the early '90s or '80s.
hmm
But yeah, that's where the money is in the music world, along with touring.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. And Rufus wants to give a shout out to Candy Burris, because he was like, well, how
I
does she make her money?
I don't. She wrote a lot of songs and she owns the songs. That's how she made her
Her
money.
and Tamika. Yeah, I think they co-wrote
Yeah,
No
little Tiny
Scrubs.
Cotta. Yep, they did. They sure
Hmm
did, along with many other songs from
Yep.
many other artists.
Yeah, so shout out to them. Shout out to Jermaine. I hope they give you that money in the grand scheme of things. And so let's head to Hollywood. Let's head to
Okay,
Hollywood.
LA.
Let's pivot. Let's pivot. Will and Jada. Now,
Oh, where we going now? I just
Will
watched a
and
YouTube
Jada.
video on Jada tonight, and it was pretty interesting. But go
Oh
ahead.
shit. Now, according to a source who spoke with People magazine, Jada Pinkett Smith is reportedly moved back in with Will Smith about 2 years ago. And they say she
Oh, okay.
quietly did this. And so they pretty much have been rebuilding their relationship. And neither of them have publicly confirmed this. Now,
Right.
now, Rufus, why do people stay so invested in Will and Jada?
I this is what I think. I think there are, I hate that maybe you don't know this, but I hate the term power couple. But I think
Mm,
people, specifically black people, look up to Jada and Will as a power couple,
mm,
and that's why. Just like the Americans look up to the Royals as
mm.
whatever. So I think it's kind of along those same lines. Me personally, I don't give a fuck what Will and Jada do in their personal lives, to be honest, because it has nothing to do with me. But I think black people look up to them as a power couple and they aspire to be like that because they've been together for like 30 some years.
Yeah,
And, I for one don't think we need to know everything that's going on in their personal life.
right
I don't
about
know why
that.
this is in the news. Like she moved back with her husband. Great. I don't care. Good for them though.
You
But
right
yeah, I
about
think
that.
I think it I think their people aspire to be like them, which
Okay.
is why I think they so invested in them.
And fuck whoever went to People. Like, you can't be my friend and be running your ass to
Okay, I'm gonna be like
People
Beyonce. Y'all better sign
magazine.
an NDA. You can't be my friend unless you sign
Run,
this goddamn
running
NDA.
your
That's why we
ass
never
over
do
there to
that.
People
We never found
magazine.
out who bit Beyonce on the face or whatever the fuck it was. We still don't know.
Oh, that was the one that supposedly Denzel Washington, allegedly Denzel Washington's mistress. Sanaa Lathan, right? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that was Denzel Washington's
Yes,
mistress.
yes.
Oh,
Allegedly, that is his mistress, and that's why you've never
okay.
seen her married or publicly dating anybody.
How long
So,
she been his mistress for?
shit,
Fucking
I don't know.
forever.
She in her 50s now. He in his 70s, right?
Allegedly, I don't know
Yeah,
how old he is.
yeah.
Okay,
Whew.
that's
Well,
interesting.
Will and Jada, if that's true, we know that they've chosen privacy over publicity. And so, not every relationship has to play out publicly. And so, whew, ugh,
Yeah, relationships are between two or whoever's in a relationship, in my opinion.
let's get up out of Hollywood. Let's head on back to our economy stories now. This
Oh
involves
Lord, where we
Tank,
going now? Tank.
Mario, and Eric
Oh,
Bellinger. And if you
okay.
think about it, I always say, I remember listening to this blog, and I think I actually have a book over there that talks about how to keep a black man working. It's on one of my bookshelves over
What?
there.
What kind of?
Yes,
Who wrote that shit? Sister
I can.
Soldier?
It's a black lady, but she was semi homophobic. So, but I'm gonna
Of
find
course she
it.
was.
Yeah, some black lady, how to keep a black man. I think I watched one of her lectures on
Well, I
YouTube, but
don't
I
need to
actually
read that
bought the
book.
book. I'll dig it up. I'll go through my bookshelf. It's over there. I know it's over there. But anyway, Chris Brown and Usher are on tour, and then their Detroit stop. That concert caught people's attention because Tank, Mario, and Alec Bellinger were
Singing
singing
that
background
background.
vocals. Yeah, I mean, had the whole
Hmm.
outfits on. They were all set, and so while they're successful in their own rights, I respect that. You know,
Yeah, I love
um,
it too. I think it's dope. Like I like Tank. I watch
hmm
his podcast and I just like his personality and I
yeah,
like Mario as an artist as well. Eric Bellinger, I
hmm
know some of his songs. He's pretty dope too. But I think that's amazing. Like the fact that you are established artist on your own and you can still go sing
yeah,
background for somebody else. That just goes that that's pretty dope to me.
yeah. So
So yeah,
sometimes you're the headliner, and sometimes you're cashing in another check. So
right. And they might be
you
doing it
know.
for free. Who knows? Because they
I'm gonna
probably
ride with them getting
friends.
paid because they don't benefit being in the background. And I think Tank was even an opener at one of the shows. But I don't think they doing it for free. Now I don't know.
They
You're a
I
big,
don't
big
know.
Duran Bernard fan. Does he work for Erica Badu for free?
I don't know. He's never said that. That ain't my business. So I don't know.
Okay,
But
all
like,
righty.
I'm sure if it's just a one time thing, if you were a R&B artist, I would sing background for you for free.
I wouldn't
Just
let you.
like one time, I wouldn't be no
Um,
I wouldn't be on there consistently. But if I'll just come sing one show up in wherever whatever city, I'm like,
that's
okay, yeah,
because
I'll
you're
do this
kind,
one
but we
time.
know this is fucking money in town. They ass got booked. It was genius. Shout out to them for
Okay,
being friends, and there's nothing wrong with multiple streams of income. And
and it
talent creates opportunity. Yeah.
you should have multiple streams of income.
Yep. Shout out to them. There's no ego. It's just business.
Now the folks
Absolutely.
want to know if TGT gonna ever get back
What were they
together.
songs? Sing one of their
Doubtful.
songs.
I
What
know. I
was
couldn't
it?
tell you.
Genuine High on Good Morning
I,
America or the Today Show?
what? I don't know
Remember?
anything
Yeah,
about
they
any
got
of
mad
that.
at him. He
This
was
is all
singing.
alleged. I don't know
Ooh,
anything about this.
Ugh.
This is all alleged though. I don't
Yeah,
know
it was
nothing about
something was
this.
happening. Tank was singing good. Tyrese was singing good, but Genuine, who was playing the
Well,
piano? It was not
Genuine probably
good.
Tank plays the piano. Genuine
Okay.
is, in my opinion, he ain't really that much of a singer anyway. I love his music, but to be honest, he like a Candy. I love Candy, but the girl can't
Oh
sing,
my
in my
goodness.
opinion.
All right. Okay. Let's pivot. We got a follow up story. If you all remember, do y'all remember the rat birth control story? You remember that, Rufus?
We talked about it on here. I think
All right.
like
Now,
one of our first episodes, right?
yeah, it sure was. So this was months ago, and one thing I do enjoy about our show, is that we follow up. We just don't stick and throw it out there. We follow up with it. Now, early reports suggested that it's actually working, and so those DC residents, they have seen a reduction in rodent activity, and
Okay.
so this is just using science and traditional extermination methods. So Rufus, this might be the future of pest control.
Well, DC's up there by you, so I hope it works out for the best. I hope
Yeah.
there are no side effects.
Yeah, well, I passed over a smashed rat in the street on my commute back home this morning from the gym. So this could be, a model for other cities, and we'll continue watching the long-term results. And
the
we do
the
have,
universe the
hmm,
universe go get them one way or the other,
yeah, that
huh?
motherfucker was
Okay.
smashed. And so, one final follow-up before we wrap up today. Whoo, I struggle with this word, and I know I struggled almost every episode that we mentioned it. Is it boobification? I think that's the word, right?
Is that a real word?
I don't know. It's a fetish, right?
Okay.
Isn't it the story boobification?
I don't know where we're going, but I'm
We're talking
strapped
about
in, so let's
Christy
go there.
Norm. So reports have indicated that Christy Norm is reportedly divorcing her husband following the
Oh,
recent controversy of him putting them fake titties on his chest.
okay.
And we'll just continue watching for official confirmation, and public scandals extend beyond politics. So Rufus, families often feel the impact just as much as public officials. And we started the show with this, but you know what? With this bitch, you get no sympathy, bitch. You get no sympathy. You get no sympathy.
Okay.
Yep. And we'll follow up if there are any verified
Let's let's
details. So
not let's
if
not
we
follow
can
up on
drag this
this.
bitch, I know our South Africa supporters, were like, what the hell y'all got going on over there? So they appreciate a good dragging, and we appreciate you all too. One day we'll make it to do an in-person show in Cape Town. We'll get
at
there.
this at the city winery.
You know what? They don't have those there, but we gonna
Well,
find a nice spot there. We'll
I
not
know a
have.
place. I know a place. It's
I
in Cape
know a
Town.
place.
They got good
Hey,
food
doo
too.
doo 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 doo.
Oh my
In
God.
Cape Town, doo 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 doo.
Is this a blues
The
song you're singing?
Rufus and Craig Show.
All
Boo
right.
doo doo boo doo doo.
Okay.
That's our show today, everybody. Doo doo doo.
Uh-huh.
Doo 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 boom boom boom. See you later, Mr. Rufus. Doo doo
Okay.
doo doo.
Have a
Boom.
good day.
Signing
Allergies
off is
suck.
Craig. Doom boo doo 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 doo. Deuces.